How are you doing, Brother Usama? What are you doing in my live stream? You could
So
be
far,
doing
so
lots
good.
of things.
Yeah, you know what? I'm doing good, except my dog is not doing good. You see what Soda did to me? This is my favorite book, Ibn Kasir, Bidayah wa Nihaya, the beginning, the story of the prophets with the story of Joseph. So my dog came inside. I was in Wisconsin. I was in Wisconsin. You can laugh. I know you love that dog, and I now I'm mad at him. Look what he did. Look at the here. Look at the pages. He
So,
actually chew a big chunk. Look at this. I mean, you're talking about Holy Quran. That is holy book now. So many holes in it, and so I mean, he put his teeth throughout all these pages. I got a bunch of holes here, but anyway.
okay,
So
okay. Let me just summarize that. So,
yeah.
Usama has a black Labrador called Sauda. Overall, he's very nice, lovely dog, but sadly, Usama did not train his dog. And while Usama is away, dog goes to Usama's office. There are lots of things in his office. Okay, there are cookies and salty stuff,
He
but
did
dog
not care
goes
about food.
and then eat biography of the Prophet of from Ibn Kathir.
Let me
Well,
explain to you what
now
happened. Let me
now
explain
you
to
got just a moment. Now you've got very holy dog. So you got black Labrador. Remember,
you. Yeah.
Allah ordered black dogs to be killed. You
Oh,
got a
Soda.
black Labrador
And the name is Soda.
who Sauda, one of the wife of
Prophet's wife.
Muhammad, one of the wife of Muhammad, the fat fat one. And your dog is not that fat actually. Just anyway, so
He's
dog
healthy.
goes and then it's the
Yeah,
it's
here's the
the
truth. No, seriously, Hatun, here's the truth. The other day, I have a friend visiting with me from some other state, and he said, "What is the name of your dog?" I said, "Soda." And then he said, "Why do you call him Soda? Like Coca-Cola?" I said, "No, Soda is a black number color." I said, "Why do you call him Soda?" I said, so I told him the story about Muhammad's wife, Soda. And I did not realize that Soda was standing outside the window and he heard the whole story. So he got mad at me because I named him after Muhammad's wife. And he came in after I left Wisconsin. He chewed my office. I mean, I got some pictures. If you see it, it will break your heart. It'll make you cry. But anyway, so I made a mistake to let him know that I named him after Muhammad's wife. I can't help it now. It's too late.
so it's not only like people who read the word of Allah gets kind of practice their love in very violent way, but even the dogs who kind of figure out they might have connection with
Yeah.
in any way, even just the name, with connection with Muhammad, they cause damage.
I think I
That
need to maybe I need to change his name. I don't know what
you
is the
don't need
legal.
no, Sama, you don't need to change his name. All you need to do is making sure he does regular exercise. Just you need to take him for a walk or for a run. That's all you need to do.
This is my
Well,
desk seat.
see
He
that
chew on my seat.
well, very successful dog.
Oh, I'm telling you, that dog is killing me. Look at my office area. I mean, literally, that one will break your heart. Remember when you used to sit on that beautiful desk? Look at that.
That dog becomes untouchable now. So Sauda
I
has
rebuke the devil
Arabic
out of him.
Arabic in his tummy.
Yeah,
She's been
mean
he's
dog.
been eating
Mean dog.
eaten Arabic. Part of the biography of Muhammad becomes untouchable. Uh, for me, just perfect, just perfect. So besides Sauda destroyed your office while you were on holiday in somewhere, what else have you been up to, brother? How is life with you?
So far, so good. I was in Wisconsin when this actually happened. I spoke in some churches there. I did some good programs. We recorded the 15 radio broadcast for VCY and Worldview Weekend, and finished editing 8 or 9. They're all edited, but I'm just final touch. So that would be our new study, which is about the embryo, the miracle of all miracles. We call actually our study the miraculous mistakes of Muhammad, the miraculous mistakes of Muhammad concerning the stages of growth of the embryo inside the mother womb. How in the world did Muhammad knew that 1400 years ago, unless it was a revelation from Allah to him? I found that neither Allah nor Jibril or Muhammad have a clue what is embryo. So anyway, it was a good study, 15 broadcast. It's a half-hour program. I'm going to be airing sometime soon here on VCY. People can listen to it if they download the app for VCY America .org, and then you can listen to these radio broadcasts. I did also 2 other studies, short one and one is about Moses, and the other one and the green prophet, and another one I can't even remember what it is now. Anyway, so but God is good. So I did some radio broadcast, and we soon we're going to be doing this in a TV broadcast. I already recorded one time, but I don't like it really, so I'm going to reshoot it in Memphis, Tennessee, as a TV show. So that'll be a good maybe 10 broadcast of half hour. That's a good
Okay,
5 hour worth of
so
stuff.
you've been active and busy with ministry things, and
Sure.
I heard that you are causing some stress in Indonesia.
No, no, actually, the people from Indonesia love me, and I love them too. So why do you think was there stress? Because I mean, unless maybe the Muslims, they're the one who still Muslims are not happy with me. But most Christians and the one who is in the middle, the one who is searching for the truth, they love me, and we praise God for each and everyone who love to hear it. And stress, yeah, man. You make me stress to think I'm stressing you. I stress
I,
nobody.
I don't know. I heard that you are causing some troubles in Indonesian Muslim community. They are
Well,
upset with you.
well, if they're upset, I love them, and it's for their own good. You know how when you're a baby and you take the medicine, it tastes bad, and Mama, I don't want it, Mama, it tastes bad. It's good for you. It's good for you. It'll help you to get better. Mama used to tell me. So, hey, maybe those who are upset need to test the medicine so they can get healed from the disease of Islam and become good and healthy for
And
eternity.
Lord Jesus Christ is perfect for all and needed by everyone.
Amen.
So you talked about the kind of miracles of Islam. You already expressed that even using the name of Muhammad's wife kind of caused, as you named your dog, name of Muhammad's wife, that caused physical damage in your office, and then part of Muhammad's biography is being gone. You talked about miracles of disaster miracles of Islam in embryology, and you talked about how you are doing some work around the world. I want to bring us to another miracle of the Islam from Islamic texts. So I've been having you to join me in the live streams to especially help us to understand Surah 12. Surah 12 is this well-detailed, part of well-detailed, well-explained Quran, which
Yep.
contains one of the best stories of Allah and story of Joseph.
Yeah,
So
and
we've
that's
been
not our
looking at,
opinion, by the way. This is the opinion of Allah Himself. I did
yes,
not say
yeah,
that.
we are just a messenger. We are just telling what Allah says. Allah identifies Quran as well-detailed, well-explained. And then Allah identifies Surah 12 as one of the best, not one of them, it's identified as the best stories. And Usama Dakdok is helping us to kind of compare that best story with like zero details and very creepy details. If it has details, some of those details are very creepy, but helping us to see that best story with the biblical account of Joseph. So we've done 57 verses. I think we did 3 or 4 live stream in the past. So take me, can you be kind enough and then take me back and summarize for me story of Joseph until verse 58,
Sure.
and then we pick up from there, brother. Is that okay?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. We start by verse 3, which is what you just quote. First of all, verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, it's a huge contradiction. It's not pure Arabic, it's not clear, it's not an understood passage. And the simplest just reads the first 3 verses. And Allah is bragging about Himself by telling us this is the best of the stories. If that is the best of the stories, then Allah does not know how to tell a story, neither Jibril or Muhammad, because to me, it is the worst story I have ever read. If I don't have any access to the Bible, like most Muslims, they may think, and then I will think that this is the best of the stories of the Quran. Why? Because in reality, it is the only story where you don't have to go throughout the pages of the Quran in 114 chapter to find out the information about the story. It's all put together in one chapter, chapter 12. But in reality, because I know about stories and I read so many stories, even made up stories by some authors who wrote stories of their lives, I found that that story is the most ridiculous, boring, contradictory, not only to the story of the Quran, with the logic of the Quran, but also contradict to the original source of the Quran, which is the Bible itself. Genesis, beginning from chapter 35, 36. I think we're going to skip 37 and go to whatever chapter is in the last portion of Genesis. As we're going to see today, as we have done in the past, we're going to continue today. Muhammad heard the story. He knows about it, but he heard it long time ago. Maybe he heard it 20 years before he wrote it. I don't know when he wrote it. It's supposed to be a Meccan chapter, supposed to be in there, but he heard it at least 20. And when you hear a story and you cannot remember what was in it, and then you start rewriting the story from your best ability, as best as you can remember, then you make lots of contradiction, lots of nonsense. The problem I have with the story is Muhammad, as a guy who knows the future of the story, we're going to see that even today too. He cannot rush himself to tell us something is going to happen which did not happen yet by accident or by mistake, which means he was aware of what is yet to come, but he never mentioned. The story is missing the details of who's talking to who and why he made the statement. He may give us information, but since he is missing important keywords or important sentences or verses before and after, then you have no clue what he's talking about. Any Christian, any Jew who ever read the Genesis account, when you read the Quran, you can't help it but to laugh. That's why we have put, I don't know, 40, 50 questions so far, and we're still going to share more questions. And these are simple questions for a little Jew or a little Christian, he or she can answer. But the great Muslim scholars will not have an answer unless they do what Ibn Kathir did, which is you go back to the Bible and find the answer for the question. But since Muslims do not believe in the Bible, then I advise them, don't use the corrupt book of God in the Bible. Stick with your holy word of Allah in the Quran, and you'll find you are really in a holy book. A book with huge holes and the information is missing. Like my dog did to my book here. When you have 5, 6 pages are gone, you cannot have a clue what is between the last sentence in that page number 14, and the new sentence in page 26. All these pages in the middle is gone. That's exactly the story of the Quran. Last time we talked together, I'm going to open my Quran one more time here to remind you. We ended let's go back up. We ended at verse 58, I believe, as you have reminded me, and that is when we. Of course, we know how Muhammad sometimes also added nonsense to the story, like the women of the city, how the Al-Aziz wife invited all of them because the gossip was all over the city. Everybody knows about her love for her slave boy, and then she gives them all knives and they cut their hands and blah, blah, blah. Now, Joseph is standing before the Pharaoh himself, and Muhammad is confused. He thinks that the Pharaoh is the same guy who is Al-Aziz, who is his wife. It's a chaos. He couldn't even make sense about what Allah is trying to say. But Joseph refused to get out of the prison to meet with the king unless he had his respect and his honor for his identity, for his character, that he did not do anything. So he asked about this woman once again in verse 51, and then obviously, somehow we found that, depending how you read the verses, because you may read it is the Pharaoh speaking to her, or Allah speaking to her, or maybe Joseph speaking to her, or maybe no one know who is speaking to who, that somehow, verse 53, there's repentance there and seeking the mercy of Allah, the forgiving. And then the king in verse 54 gives the order to bring him to him. Why? Because once again, Muhammad thought that Joseph gives interpretation to the Pharaoh dream from inside the prison, not as he stood up before Pharaoh, because somehow the guy he saved his life, the little boy, teenager or something, according to the Quran, who used to give a drink to the Pharaoh, supposed to be an older man, because that's a very important job. It's a great responsibility. Muhammad put it in the Quran as a fata. Fata is teenager, okay? So somehow he went to the prison, met with Joseph. Joseph gives him the interpretation of the dream. He went back to the king and he gives interpretation to the dream. And now Joseph is in charge of the land, and because that is the reward of Allah and to those who fear him. And we're going to get to verse 58, our study for today, when Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to seek some food or some substance.
Thank you very much, brother. So we are in the Quran, so-called Word of Allah, chapter 12, and we will be picking up from verse 58, and we are just trying to question first couple of verses of chapter 12. Elif Lam Ra, those are the verses of the clear book. Indeed, we have sent it down as an Arabic Quran that you might understand. We relate to you the best of the stories. So we are looking Surah 12 and trying to figure out if this is really well detailed, well explained, and clear, as well as the best stories. And we are comparing that with the Genesis account. We will be picking up from verse 58 of chapter 12. Brother, would you like me to? I guess you want
Let's
me to
read.
do
Let's read just 58 and 59, if you don't mind. Oh, actually, you know what? Just 58 will be good because I want to go to Genesis account and then we'll come back to 59.
Okay, just a second. What I did, I tried to do something useful for everyone.
That's okay.
But let me see if I'm able to do that useful thing. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna show the verses on the screen for people to see it as well.
That's good.
So Quran chapter 12, verse 58 and 59.
Can you make it a little bit bigger for people to be able to read, or you can't?
I don't know.
Plus, or you can do Control plus.
Did it make bigger?
Control plus will make it bigger.
Is it bigger now?
Nope, still the same size. You see the
okay.
The arrow, there's a lens on the right side on the top. I think if you click on that, it make it a little bit bigger as well. If you can't, that's fine. It's just my computer is small. Yep, it's getting bigger now.
Is it now much bigger?
Yes, but yep, that's good. That's good. Can you make it a little bit bigger? That's good.
You're just being fussy right now, brother. I'm gonna ask Sauda. I'm gonna ask Sauda to step in.
Please, let her stay out of my office. I don't want them to come back again here.
Is it better because I don't see the screen now? Is it better?
Yes, good. Yeah, I can read it very good now.
Okay. Surah chapter 12, verse 58 and 59. And Joseph's brother came, so they entered to him. So he knew them, and they were unaware of him. And when they had provided him with their provision, he said, "Bring me a brother of you from your father. Do you not see that if I fill the measure and I am the best of the hosts?"
You know what's happening here? You know what's happening here? We have the story of the Bible in a corrupt form. What do I mean by that? Nobody with logic or common sense, when he reads these two verses, can connect them together. First of all, what happened for Joseph's brothers to come to him? Where they came from? Where he was? What was the story exactly? The only way you can understand that portion here, you have to go back to Genesis account. So I'm going to ask you to bless me by reading Genesis chapter 41. And there are a couple of verses that are very important. I don't know if you covered them or not last time. So you can see the flow of the story, how the story makes sense, and how can you see the years and the time. If you read the Quran, you think, so far Joseph is a little boy. I'm not kidding, because we don't have timeline of what happened before and after every one of these verses. But Genesis chapter 41, and it's beginning from verse 46. In verse 46, I can summarize by telling you Joseph was 30 years old when he stood up before the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh of Egypt. Now, in the Quran, you have no clue when Joseph, how old was Joseph in any portion of the story. Because obviously Muhammad is summarizing the beautiful, my favorite story in the Bible, and ruining it. And I say ruin it. So we do not know. When Joseph started the Quran, you saw it, as we shared this in our first podcast, that he was a little boy. No, he was 17 years old. They asked, Joseph and Joseph's brothers asked Jacob to allow them to take this little Joe to play and have fun. But in reality, he used to go and work with them. As a matter of fact, his father was afraid that he may be eaten by a wolf, and he chose the wolf to be the creature who will devour him. But in reality, in the Bible, it was Jacob who sent Joseph to his brothers. 17 years old in Joseph's days, that is a grown-up man. You can be married at such time, okay? You can be married at such time. Anyway, so Now we know the story move on to Genesis chapter 41 and verse 46 that he was 30 years old when he stood up before Pharaoh. So my question to the dear scholars of Islam, how old was Joseph when he stood up before Pharaoh? Not according to the Bible now. Forget about the Bible. That corrupt book, we're going to throw in the garbage can. We're going to stick with the holy word of Allah, which is very clear. And it is the best of the stories, Joseph. How old was Joseph? Without Genesis 41 and verse 46, good luck to Ibn Kathir, to Jibreel, to Allah, to Muhammad to tell us how old was Joseph. But now, 7 years of blessing was in Egypt. You never read about that in the Quran, even though the dream of Pharaoh was about that, but it never happened. You never see it there. I'm not being picky. I'm just giving you the reality. So now 7 years. What happened in these 7 years? The Joseph was sitting counting the corn and the wheat, whatever he's gathering. No. He got married. He married to his wife, which is the daughter of Pharaoh Khan, which we can read about in verse 45. When you get married, guess what, Hatun? You have children. So now let us read verse 49 and verse 50 and 51 and 52. So 49 to 52 to learn about a very important two sons came to Joseph in the land of Egypt. Okay, so 49 down to 52.
Genesis chapter 41, verse 49. Joseph stored up a huge quantities of grain, like the sands of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond the measure. Before the years of famine came, two sons were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, "It is because God has made me forget all my troubles and all my father's house all my father's household." The second son he named Ephraim and said, "It is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering."
All right. So now we know the biblical account, the details which Muhammad forgot to mention because he never knew anything about it. And that's where we ask our very important question. How many children did Joseph have in Egypt or had in Egypt? What is their names? What is the meaning of their names? Oh, here we go. 3 questions. Go. Bye-bye. Allah does not know, neither Jibreel nor Muhammad nor any Muslim scholars. As a matter of fact, Allah does not know any name in the Quran. Let's talk about Joseph's grandpa, Abraham. What is his name? Is Abraham or Abraham? Oh, both. Why? Because the Bible said so. What the Quran said, he said Abraham. The Quran said Abraham, but the Quran never said Abraham. What is the meaning of Abraham? What is the meaning of Abraham? Let's go to the son of Abraham, Isaac. What Isaac mean? Muslims do not know, but he have a sons, Jacob and Esau. What Jacob means, what Esau means, why Jacob changed to Abraham from Jacob to Israel, nobody knows. We Christian know, Jewish people know. As a matter of fact, kids 10 years old in a Sunday school class, in a church or in a synagogue can teach great Muslim scholars these names and the meaning of these names. Why Muslims do not know it? Because they don't have the real story. They have a counterfeit story, the story of the Quran. So now Joseph have 2 sons. Manasseh, because God has caused him to forget all the hardship, all the pain, all the suffering he have in his household. Now, what is the other son name is Ephraim. What is Ephraim? Is because he was Muslim. He was fruitful. God made him fruitful. That's why he named his son Ephraim. And Manasseh and Ephraim actually became the 2 important tribes in the 12th tribe of Israel, which Muhammad talk about all the time. Even though it's one Joseph, he's supposed to be one tribe, but it's not the tribe of Joseph, it's the tribe of Manasseh and the tribe of Ephraim. Why? Because the biggest tribe, which is Levi, is no longer a tribe. He will not inherit any land in the promised land. Levi will live on the 10%, which is the tithes, which all the sons of Jacob will give to them. They never owned land. They never worked. They were serving the God of Israel, Jehovah, Yahweh, in the temple. They did not have any legal tribe possession like this is a tribe. Well, does that mean we have only 11? No, we still have 12. Why? Because Joseph have 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, to make these 2 tribes. Do Muslims know that? Well, good luck. That's another question for some scholar to tell me, what is the name of the 12 tribes? Why we do not have the tribe of Levi? Did Levi die? And that's why we never have his tribe anymore? And why we have two more tribes? Believe me, Hatun, no Muslim scholar, which I call them dummers, no Muslim scholar, I don't care if you come Ibn Kasir, Al-Tabari, none of these people have a clue what we're talking about. In what? In the best of the stories of the Quran. Forget about the rest of the, forget about Muhammad. Put Muhammad on a side here and put all, just let's concentrate on Joseph. Muslim scholars are the greatest dummers of the world because they cannot answer simple one of my 100 questions on Joseph. And my challenge is for the Muslim today, as we did it in the previous broadcast, any smart one can come on this broadcast and debate me on the topic of Joseph. He or she, I don't think they'll allow she to talk on their behalf, but I know any little girl in my church or a synagogue will gain a great victory. Any Muslim scholar would like to challenge in that, bring your Quran, bring the best of your scholars' interpretation to the Quran, not using my Bible, and let's challenge each other for debate over the best of the stories of the Quran, Quran chapter 12. So that is the two sons of Jacob, Joseph, son of Jacob, son of Isaac, son of Abraham. None of that is mentioned in the Quran, and Muslims have no clue what I'm talking about. Are you following me so far, sister?
Yeah, so we are looking Surah 12 of the Quran, and we read verse 58 and 59. We are trying to make sense with the non-mentioned details. We had to go to Bible to kind of give you some details. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sadly, word of Allah, when it comes to this story of Joseph, which is the best story, doesn't make that much sense. We need to fill the gaps, and then we need to make sense of the story. We needed to turn to the Bible.
Exactly. So in verse 58 of the Quran, we read that Joseph's brothers came to him or entered him, and he knows them, but they did not know him. Why did they go there? They went to Egypt to visit, to have good time. And then in verse 59, he gives them whatever he gives them wouldn't even know. And then he said to them from the blue sky, you have no idea what he's come up. Bring to me a brother of yours. Can't you see I am a good major? I give you enough food. How in the world did Joseph know how to communicate with these 10 people whom he did not know? I mean, they did not know who he is, and just say, bring me a brother of yours. And by the way, in verse 60, which we have not read, we're going to read in a minute here. Oh, if you don't bring him to me, don't come near to me. This is like somebody's drunk or somebody under the influence of drugs. You cannot understand the story. To understand 57, 58, 59, any verse in the Quran, we have to go back to the Bible. And that's why we have right now, while we're still in the Bible, to see. What did the Bible say about this famine, which is supposed to start in verse 54? Genesis 41, 54. The missing key important verses of the Quran is found in the Bible. Genesis chapter 41 and beginning from verse 54. So read to me, sister, from 54 to 57.
And 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. There was famine in all other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to the Pharaoh for food. Then Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, go to the Joseph and do what he tells you. When the famine had spread over all the country, Joseph opened the storehouse and sold grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout the Egypt. And all the countries came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph, because the famine was severe in all the world.
So the famine was not a local famine in Egypt, Hatun. The famine was on planet Earth. And now the Egyptians are starving and they need food. Now the Egyptian went to Joseph because he is in charge of the land to give them food. And he did not give them because of the love of their black eyes. No, he actually sold it to them. A little bit later, they don't have any money anymore to buy it. So he sold them food for their land and their cows and donkeys and camels, and then he sold them food for their lives. They became slave of Pharaoh, and Pharaoh was able to control the entire land of Egypt to the point he can move people from one part of the country to the other part of the country because he became his slaves. Because that's what they said. What's going to happen? How are we going to benefit if we're alive and we're going to die without, take us? So we sell ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Notice this stories we read in here is not in the Quran. The best of the stories of the Quran. It's missing. And now we know that Pharaoh is owning the land and the people and the animals and everything in it. That's what makes Pharaoh the great in all the history of Egypt. That he's the only Pharaoh who owned the country and the people and everything, because people chose to sell themselves to that Pharaoh. Except the children of Israel did not sell themselves to a Pharaoh. Joseph never bought them for food, but he gives them the best of the land, as we're going to see a little bit later, the land of Goshen. That is the delta up in the Nile, beautiful land, and that's where they lived until they left Egypt out to the promised land. But obviously, that's not what Muhammad knew or understood. Not about Joseph, not about Moses. God help us, and God helps the Muslim people to see how empty the Quran is. Now, so now all the people went to Egypt to buy. Guess what? Some of these people is just happened to be coming from the land of Canaan. Why? Because Canaan is another piece of property where there is famine. How do we know that? We go to the following chapter, Genesis chapter 42. So to understand Quran chapter 12, verse 58, 59, 60, and the rest of the verses, you need to go back to the Bible. And without the Bible, good luck to figure out the Quran. So now Jacob is going to come up in the picture of the true biblical account to learn about why his sons went to Egypt. Genesis 42, verses 1, 2, and 3.
When Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you just keep looking at each other?" He continued, "I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us, so that we may live and not die."
So obviously, in Jacob days, they don't have telephones or internet or technology we have today. What happened? People travel. When the people travel, go from the land of Israel to the land of Egypt, and they found that, oh, there's food. They brought food. They traveled back. They have all these stacks of corn and wheat and whatever they have out of Egypt. And people start talking, where you got this food from? Oh, it's in Egypt. Oh, in Egypt there's food. Yes. So Jacob now asked his sons to go to Egypt. Did they all went to Egypt or only 10? Only 10. Why? Verses 3 and 4 give us the answer.
Then 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with the others, because he was afraid that harm might come to him.
Now we read verse 5, which is what Muhammad is talking about in his Quran. Sadly, Muslim who never read the Bible do not know what we're talking about here, which is verse 58. 5, it is a real story. 58 is the counterfeit of 5. You cannot understand 58 without reading all that which we talked about in Genesis 41 and 42. You follow me so far? So read for us. Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, let me just summarize so that I understand clearly. So we are in story of Joseph in Quran Surah chapter 12. And Joseph is out of prison, according to Quran. And so verse 58 tells Joseph's brother came and they entered to him. So we are trying to figure out what happened before that. And sadly, well-detailed Quran failed to answer our basic questions. We had to go to the Bible to try to figure out. So all we discussed in the last 38 minutes comes from the Bible to make sense of verse 58 of chapter 12, because now family of Joseph is Jacob is in need of food. Therefore, there is food in Egypt. 10 brothers are coming to Egypt.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Genesis 42. Yeah. Genesis 42 and verse 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. How about that? 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay. So Israel's sons were among those who were to buy grain, for the famine was in the land of Canaan also. Now Joseph was the governor of the land, the one who sold grain to all its people. So when Joseph's brother arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. Where do you come from? He asked. From the land of Canaan, they replied, to buy food.
Verse 8.
Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him.
Notice what is missing in the Quran. The story of
lots
Joseph.
of things. Lots of things.
What's missing in the Quran? The story. Okay. So to make it short and sweet, Muhammad forgot to mention the story of Joseph and the best of the stories of the Quran. But that's all. So besides that, now we know that he was in charge of the country, as we have seen, the Egypt, and people buy from him. And as a man in charge of the country, he's not just sitting there with a cup, as Muhammad made in the Quran, and he was, measuring. Hey, here we go. 20 and one more extra for you. Now, Uncle Joseph is a good guy. No, he was in charge. That means no decision will be made except through him. So when people come from a far land, he's in charge of the country. He's a prince. He's a vice president. You got the president of the United States, Biden, bless his soul, Lord Jesus. The man lost his mind and he does not know what he's doing. And then we have the vice president, Kamala Harris. God help this country if she became a president in the next 2 years. It will be worse than Biden himself, but that's okay. So now it's the same thing in Egypt. You got the king and you got the prince. The king is Pharaoh, the prince is Joseph. Joseph is in charge. So he will not allow somebody to come in such time as this to be a spy in the country. He have to make every decision for every person who walks through the borders of Egypt, coming to Egypt to get food, because we know a lot of people is going to be coming from all over the world. It is world famine. Make sure now not some enemy come to Egypt to know the weak spot in it, and they maybe come with their army, attack the country, and kill everybody, and take over the riches of Egypt, which all need for another 5 years, actually 7 years. That was the second year here. 5 years more. So a total of 7 years he's in charge. It's not just a story to tell. It is reality. It's economic. It is world history. It is war. Joseph is not just some guy with a cup to measure for people. He is a man to make decision for the good of the whole entire country of Egypt. All right? That's something Muhammad did not know, neither Allah or Jibreel. But that's okay. We teach the Muslims here. That's why we're here. Now, he knows them and they did not know him. But what happened in verse 6 is what Muhammad forgot to mention in the Quran, even though he made the story in the Quran. What happened in the dream of Joseph? In the dream of Joseph, I take you back to the first podcast we did on that show here, 3 or 4 ago. They all bowed down to him. His brothers, his mama, and his father. The whole family bowed down to him. And what did the brothers say? Are you going to rule over us? We're going to bow down to you? Who do you think you are, Mr. Joseph? Remember that dream? Muhammad forgot the dream. By the way, the dream in the Bible is written twice in 2 different stories. Muhammad put in the Quran once. He forgot about, he mentioned the sun and moon, the stars, but did not talk about the gather of the ash, the harvest of the field. Muhammad forgot that. Well, guess what? Here is the fulfillment of the dream. All the 10 brothers bowed down on their face to the man. According to the Quran, you may think not only Joseph who held the cup and measure for everybody, he was actually talking to his brothers in the Hebrew language, or maybe in the Coptic language. But in reality, in the Bible, he never talked to them. He always had interpreter. Like when I do my programs on Saturday with the Indonesian wonderful group, guess what? Sister Lynn, or it's been Sister Lynn, some other people also before, translate for me. I know nothing about Indonesian language. All I know is Terima kasih, selamat pagi. So, good morning and thank you so much. But besides that, I know nothing about it. But here we see Joseph being harsh, being dry. He talks to them like they're stranger. He does not know them. Was he talking to them in the Hebrew language? No. Did he speak to him in the Coptic language? No. There was a terjemaman, translator between him and say, who are these people? Yeah, they are the Hebrews. So that's what's happening. He speaks to them in one language, the people translate to the other language, and they are the people between Joseph and he was dry out. Even though they bowed down to him, he did. No? He knows them, he recognized them, and he did not recognize them. You know why? Because with everything else in the story which is missing in the Quran. Your Muhammad did not know what he's talking about. And the problem is not in Muhammad. Obviously, it's a problem in Jibril. I know it's not actually Jibril's problem. It is Allah's problem. Allah got the story wrong. Okay? And we're going to show you. In the Quran, you think Joseph talking to him directly. And it's so ridiculous. Muhammad ruined my best story of the Bible. If this one thing will make me mad, it is that story here. Even though I have nothing to do with doctrine or faith or belief, it's just a story. But Muhammad, God bless those who follow him today, ruined my best story. So now, verse 9, now Joseph remember. Remember what? Go ahead, read sister, verse 9.
Genesis chapter 42, verse 9. Then he remembered his dreams about them and said to them, you are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected. No, my lord, they answered. Your servants have came to buy food. We are all sons of one man. Your servants are honest men, not spies. No, he said to them, you have come to see where our land is unprotected. But they replied, your servants were 12 brothers, the sons of one man, who lives in the land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and the one is no more. Joseph said to them, it is just as I told you, you are spies, and this is how you will be tested. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of your number to get your brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison, so that your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth. If you are not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies. And he put them in all custody for 3 days.
Imagine with me, Sister Hatun. Between verse 9 and verse 17, these verses are missing from the Quran. Well, help me out, sister, and explain to me what we're talking about in verse 59. How in the world, in Quran chapter 12, 59, how in the world did Joseph know about they have a little brother? And why he said to them, if you don't bring it to me in verse 60, you have no major, because he accused them for being a spies. That's exactly a very important job, and he is fulfilling to protect Egypt. You are 10 guys from big country coming to spy on my home country, Egypt, so you can find the weak spots in it, so you can bring your army to literally take over our country. And we're going to kill the last one of you. No, sir. We're not spies. We're one family. Excuse me, what? Yes, we're one family. We're 11 sons. Actually, we're 12. One is lost, and 11 of us. Well, the little boy, our little brother Benjamin, he was his dad, and his dad is an old man. Jacob, we're here just to buy food. No, you're spies. I'm telling you, you're spies. No. And okay. You see the story? The missing Quran. The missing Joseph of the Quran. All these 9 verses is not in your book, your holy Quran, your perfect, clear revelation, the one which by it, if you read it, you'll become a good Muslim. No, you read it, you leave Islam. Especially if you know the true biblical account in Genesis 42. You're spies. No, we're not. Prove it. Show me that little brother of yours. Okay? And then guess what he did? He puts him in prison for 3 days. Where do we read that in the Quran? It's not in the Quran. So here's my question. How many days did Joseph put his brothers in prison in Egypt? Well, good luck. The only way to answer these silly questions is 3 ways. You have to be a little boy or a little girl, a Jew or a Christian, okay? Little boy or girl, a Christian, little boy or girl, a Jew, or you have to read the Bible. But your holy Quran, your perfect word of Allah, good luck. And I say it again, good luck to answer one of my 100 questions. My challenge for you, my dear Muslims, is answer one right. I'm not asking you to answer 2 or 3. Just answer one simple question. Of 100 questions I will provide to you, answer one right and you won the debate. Or confess your Quran is an empty book. It is holy because have lots of holes in every story and you know nothing about what happened. Like what my dog did to that book. That's what my dog did. He actually ruined that book, cut pages out, and good luck to figure out what happened in these pages. That is your holy Quran. Missing important information. So if you don't bring him to me, we will never give you any food. That is verse 60 in the Quran. But you cannot understand 59 or 60, and then no person with logic would say that's a story. I mean, his brothers came to him. He knows them. They did not know him. He gives them food. He gives them whatever. We don't even know. When he gives them what he gave them, I don't even know what he gave them. But anyway, we know he gives them corn or food. And bring me a brother of yours. Are you kidding me? Was he reading the hand? Was he reading the cup, the coffee cup? Because he is a psychic, he knows that they have a brothers. And how did you get to this point in the Quran? You didn't get it because Joseph have this. He's a prophet. No. It's missing. The story is missing. The entire story of Joseph is missing. So what does it say in verse 61 in Quran chapter 12?
I'm gonna read it from verse 58 again for people to kind of understand once again how much like detail is missing.
Exactly.
58, 59, and 60 just doesn't make sense without input of the Bible. So
the rest of the chapter does not make any sense, but go ahead.
I'm just practicing kindness, brother.
Oh, God bless you, Hatun. I love you. Go ahead.
Verse 58 of chapter 12 of the Quran. And Joseph's brother came, so they entered to him. So he knew them, and they were unaware of him. And when he had provided them with their provision, he said, "Bring me a brother of you from your father. Do you not see that I fill the measure, and I am the best of the hosts? So if you do not bring him to me, so no measure will there be for you from me, nor will you come near me." They said, "We will pursue his father of him, and we will surely do that." And he said to his young man, "Put their merchants into their bags."
Once again, he's the word fityane, his young man. So it seemed to me like Joseph have little teenagers working with him. The word fata is an early teenager. The word shab, it is an like 18, 19, 20 age college, okay? College age is shab.
Yeah.
Fata is like high school kids. Imagine with me, you have to be super stupid to believe in the country of Egypt, Joseph is measuring with his own cup, and he have little teenagers working with him. That's how dumb the Quran is. Okay, so he said to his teenagers, go ahead, what did he say, what to them? 62.
And he said to this young man, "Put their merchants into their bags. Perhaps they may know it. When they return to their family, perhaps they will come back."
Twice perhaps here. What a dumb perhaps. Do you really believe that Joseph does not know that they will come to him many times?
So let me just kind of understand the background of this. So far, from verse 58 to 62 of the Quran, we don't know why at the first place Joseph's brothers, we don't know how many are there, but like brothers are visiting Joseph. We don't know what kind of food Joseph is giving them. We don't know how Joseph knew them, but they don't know Joseph. We don't know how Joseph knows they didn't bring their one brother and then he's asking for them. We don't even know how Joseph is expressing, "I am the best of the host." Pick that line as well.
Yeah.
And then Joseph says, "Well, I've got this boy now. Boy is gonna put things in your bag, so perhaps you may come back. Perhaps.
If Joseph did not know the dream of Pharaoh, if Joseph did not know the interpretation of the dream of Pharaoh, we can say perhaps, because you know what? Maybe it's going to rain next week and they're going to have their own food. They're not going to come back. But guess what? According to the Bible and according to the Quran, as we just read earlier, there are 7 years of famine, and just the famine start to reach out to the whole world. And this is their first trip to Egypt. They have to come to Egypt at least 4 or 5 times every year. Because they don't have a big chariot or a big wagon, they're carrying corn or wheat on donkeys. It's enough for a few weeks, of the most couple 3 months. Joseph knows without any doubt. There is no reason. I know Allah in the Quran is the God of perhaps. And we talked about that in the past. I'm not sure it was you, Hatun, or somebody else, but I did a study, a couple of programs before on Allah, the God of perhaps, which it doesn't make any sense. If Allah is God and He is all-knowing God, He should not once use the word perhaps. Not once. But Allah, the God of Muhammad, is the God of perhaps. So He used the word perhaps as somebody chewing gum. Perhaps. Perhaps. You know what I'm saying? Every sentence, every other sentence in the Quran, Allah used the word perhaps. But here's Joseph, supposed to be a wise man, supposed to be a man who interprets a dream, supposed to be knows that his brothers are moving to Egypt soon. If not, they're going to be coming every 3-4 months to get more corn and more wheat. He's using the word perhaps. Perhaps they will know it. Is there money? Are you kidding me? You see, in the days of Joseph here, that's a good 1800 years, actually 1800 years before Christ, because Moses came later, 300 years later, and Moses was 1500 years before Christ. So in these days, people have silver. They don't use US dollar and British pound and euro money. No. It is, people have silver. So if you bring your silver, you know it is yours. As we read in the Bible stories, the true biblical, they know when they open the sacks, this is their silver. Perhaps they know it. Excuse me. If you're a dumb prince, they are not dumb. They know it is their money because it is their silver. It is the shape and the size of it. It is the way of it. So that the first perhaps we don't need. The second perhaps they come back. Did you lost your mind, Joseph? You know for sure they're coming back. Was that the reason why Joseph gives them the silver back? Perhaps they know it. Perhaps they may come back. Wow. What a great Allah with his perhapses throughout the page of the Quran. So that's what happened in that story. Let's go to next verse, 63. 64.
Quran chapter 12, verse 63. So when they returned to their father, they said, "Oh, our father, we have been denied our measure, so that our brother with us. So send our brother with us, and we will have our measure, and surely we will be keepers to him." He said.
Before you get to this word, let's look here for a minute here. From reading that verse, you may assume he got nothing. They didn't have any food. Just reading the verse. فلما رجعوا إلى أبيهم قالوا يا أبانا منع منا الكيل. منع منا الكيل means we did not get any food. But in reality, in the previous verse 62, we know that they got food because he gives them. See, I'm the best of the hosters. I measure by my own cup in my hand. I give you all the corn. I give you plenty. You know, bring me your little brother. So the verse of the Quran it's like somebody does not know what happened. He put the wrong information. They should say, "Our Father, we will not be able to have in the future." But that's not what he said. Muni'a minna al-kayd. We were rejected. Our request was rejected. We asked for corn and they did not give us. That is exactly what the verse said. Okay, next verse.
We've been denied our measure. Yeah. We've been denied. Verse 64, he said, "Will I entrust you with him except as I entrusted you before with his brother? So Allah is the best keeper and he is the most merciful of the merciful."
Yeah, he reminded them what happened to Joseph. So far, the story is close to that which we read in the pages of the Bible. Next verse.
So when they open their bags, they find their merchandise have been returned to them. They said, "Oh, our father, we did not desire that our merchandise would be returned to us. We will bring food to our families, and we will keep our brother, and will increase a buyer measure." This is an easy measure.
The word ba'ir here is the word camel. Listen to what they said. They're talking to their father in a broken English here, or broken Arabic in my Arabic Quran, first of all, wow, look at that. The silver is back. By the way, Muhammad used money here, which is buda'atna, silver, money, buda'atna mean our goods. That's actually was a perfect word for it. But anyway, so it was given back to us. We never thought that we're going to have it back. So we will watch over our brother, and we will increase a camel load. What is a camel load here? I mean, where in the Bible will read that they're going to go back to Egypt, they're going to get food and extra camel. That is the boo-boo of Muhammad in that verse. Just remember, 65, Quran 12:65, the extra camel load. I'm going to show it to you a little bit later in the Quran. Muhammad put it here as he's telling the story, as he knows these brothers know that somehow when they make the second trip, they're going to be offered extra camel load if they do something. Just remember that. I know I'm confusing you, but I'm going to tell you about it when we get to the right verse. They're going to get food. They're going to take their brothers. They're going to watch their brothers. They're going to get food. And they're going to get extra camel load of whatever corn or wheat they're going to get out of Egypt. Continue verse 66.
He said, I will not send him with you until you bring me a firm oath from Allah that you will return him back to me unless you are constrained. So when they brought him their pledge, he said, Allah is the guardian above what we say. And he said, oh my sons, do not enter by one door and enter by different doors. And yet I cannot profit you against anything decreed by Allah. For the judgment to Allah alone. On him I depend and on him. So let the defender depend.
All right.
Depender depend.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So we're going to stop here. We're going to go back to the Bible and we're going to come back to Joseph and the second trip. In the Quran, we have extra trip, by the way. We have extra trip. We're going to see this trip between Egypt and the land of Israel, the promised land. So first of all, he said, you will not take my boy, that little boy. Of course, he's talking about Benjamin. We do not know who is he in the Quran. His name is not mentioned. We never know any name by the name Benjamin in the Quran. As a matter of fact, there is no names in the Quran. Judas is not there. Reuben is not there. I know Muslim scholars, as you see a little bit here, Al-Tabari using the name Reuben by mistake. Supposed to be Judah, but somehow he put Reuben. And I asked, how in the world did Ibn Kathir or Al-Tabari or any of these great scholars know the names of any of the sons of Jacob? We don't. The Joseph brothers' names is not anywhere in the Quran nor in the Hadith, but somehow these great Muslim scholars depend on the Bible, a corrupt book, to explain to their Muslim, what do you call this, idiot or unaware or vulnerable, the story of Joseph in the Quran, which is the best of the Quran. He said. So now he said, you're not taking him unless you bring me an oath from Allah. How are you going to bring an oath from Allah? You're going to send a text message to Allah. Oh, Allah, make an oath with us to give to our daddy. And maybe he's going to send an email to Allah. And they brought the funny thing is he's asking for them to bring a covenant or an oath from Allah. And he said, in that oath, you're going to give me an oath from Allah that you're going to bring him back to me unless you were surrounded, unless somebody attack you, take him away from you by force. That's what the Quran said. So they brought him that oath from Allah. I don't know. Can you help me here to tell me how in the world did these 10 brothers got an oath from Allah to Jacob? How you do that?
They made a deal with Allah. They said, well, we will get you some blood, give us an oath. And then Allah said, sure, why shouldn't I? And then Allah jumped in and give it to them. So I don't know. I don't know.
There's a written covenant on a piece of paper from Allah and them to Jacob, huh?
I am not sure if I can say that because for that Allah needs a one-to-one physical connection with man. Not sure if that will work.
The verse of the Quran, Quran chapter 12 and verse 66 is one of the dumbest verses of the Quran because it is not logic. It does not happen that way. And it did not happen in the Bible. We will never read that in Genesis account as we're about to read in a minute. So important information is missing from the Quran and adding ridiculous information all over the Quran. Remember the ladies of the city?
Yeah.
Who made some phone calls and text message each other about Al-Aziz and her boy. Hey, Nancy, did you hear about Al-Aziz's wife? Oh, she's in love with her boy, Joseph, the slave. Oh, somebody caught him kissing. Whatever Muhammad added in the Quran, it is not important. And he just added. And very important information supposed to be in the story is not there. So here's the oath. And I love it how Jacob in verse 67, oh, my son, do not enter from one door. Excuse me. Enter what? Have you been to Egypt before, Jacob? Do you know how many doors we have in Egypt to enter Egypt? There's some magic about doors and Allah in the Quran. Because a little bit later, when Moses comes and said, enter the door. The door of what? Of the promised land. If the promised land is a city with one door. When in reality, there is no doors. They will not enter Jericho with the fence and doors. They were entering the promised land. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, no doors. And Egypt never have a door. My Muslim friend, my Egyptian Muslim friend, go back to the history of Egypt. Study the archaeologist work of the Egyptian. We never had a fence around Egypt, and we never have many doors around Egypt. It is dumb of Allah. It is foolish of Jibril. It is stupidity of Muhammad and all those who believe in him to think that that verse is fact. Oh, read 67 again, Hatun. Maybe I misunderstand you. Read it again, 67.
And he said, O my sons, do not enter by one door, and enter by different doors. And yet I cannot profit you against anything decreed by Allah, for the judgment to Allah alone. On him I depend, and on him. So let the depender depend.
Allah. عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل المتوكلون. I mean, I love it. When you hear the Quran in Arabic, it makes your heart melt. You feel, oh, it's beautiful. عليه توكلت وعليه
I want to say shahada.
And me too. I mean, when you hear the Quran, you want to say the shahada on the spot. You cannot wait. But then, when they went to Egypt, they found that their daddy was wrong because they discovered that there was no many doors. But wait a minute, Hatun. They already been in Egypt last week or last month, whatever their first trip. Why they did not tell their daddy, Daddy, you're wrong? There's no doors in Egypt. When we went first time, there was no doors. It's a big country. There's no walls. There's no fence. There's no doors. No. Read the on verse 68.
And when they entered, as their father had commanded them, it was not averted from them anything against Allah.
So they really entered from different doors. They came to Egypt first time, they left, they come into Egypt second time, and their daddy is this time asking them to enter from different doors. And I love when you read, Allah have mercy on the soul of this book, because the book is gone because of my dog, thanks to my dog. When you read Ibn Kathir or any Muslim scholars, they will tell you, this is the big round eye. You know what is the big round eye, Hatun? Khamsa wa Khamisa? Does it make any sense to you? Khamsa wa Khamisa? Big round eye?
No.
When people envy. The reason Jacob, in his wisdom as a prophet of Allah, he knows if they all went from one door, even though the first time they went from one door, that people are going to see them. Ooh, nice looking guys. They envy them with their round eye, which means they maybe get sick. They maybe die. You know, if you buy a new car in Egypt,
We've got that. Yeah. I forgot the name of it. We've got that.
عين الحسود فيها عود يا ماما. You never heard that before. Anyway, in Egypt, in our custom, in our culture, I would never tell somebody, oh, you have a beautiful car. Because if I said that, maybe he get in a car accident. He will not drive this car for weeks because he's afraid. If he drove the car after I envy it, hello, beautiful car. Here in America,
we call it as evil eye.
Evil eye, yeah. عين الحسود فيها عود يا ماما. Allah. Follow me, my sister. Here we go. So the daddy Jacob, the prophet of Allah, he was afraid that somebody is going to envy with this evil eye, and then some of them get sick or die. So he wanted them to go from different doors. And they did enter Egypt from different doors. The problem is Allah and Jacob and Joseph brothers did not know anything about Egypt. Why? Because Egypt never have a wall, never have a fence, never have many doors. Okay? Jerusalem have 7 doors, but not Egypt. Okay, we read about them in the Bible. So anyway, because there was wall around Jerusalem to protect it from enemies. Egyptian, I challenge a Muslim to tell me what doors Allah is talking about here. It's very simple. What doors? Read verse 68 one more time, if you don't mind, sister. One more time.
And when they entered as their father had commanded them, it was not averted from them anything against Allah. but it only served to satisfy a need in a soul of Jacob. And surely he was possessed of the knowledge we had taught him, but most people do not know.
No, surely Jacob was stupid, according to the Quran, and surely Allah is dumber than Jacob because Allah did not know anything about the gates of Egypt and the doors and the walls and the roads. Okay, that is, I mean, that verse alone. If you read verse 68 and study archaeology of Egypt, you find that Islam is 100% false. Thanks be to the knowledge we have, the history of Egypt, where I come from, where we never have a wall and doors. Okay, now let's leave this nonsensical Quran and we go back to the Bible. We're in Genesis chapter 42. We stopped at verse we're at 20. After 3 days in prison.
Yeah, verse 18. So we are in verse 18.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So we are in Bible, Genesis chapter 42 from verse 18. On the third day, Joseph said to them, "Do this and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers stay here in prison, while the rest of you go and take grain back from your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me, so that your words may be verified, that you may not die." This is proceed to do. They said to one another, "Surely we are being punished because of our brother. We saw how distressed he was when he appealed with us for his life, but we would not listen. That's why this disaster came upon us." Reuben replied, "Did I not tell you not sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an account for his blood." They did not realize that Joseph could understand them since he was using an interpreter.
Let's stop here for a minute, sister. I tell the truth, and God is my witness. When I read the story first time, I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. When we came to this portion here, I cried. I remember it like it was yesterday, even though this took place when I was 9 or 10 years. I'm 53. So that is 43, 44 years ago. And Muhammad ruined the biblical account of Joseph. If this will not be the one reason, it'll be the only reason for Muslims to leave Islam. This is what Muhammad did to the best of the Bible. My favorite story. Why? Because when my daddy read this for me, I cried, and I pretend not to cry. Because in Egypt, men don't cry. And since I was a little boy, I thought I'm a man. And I cried, and I could not stop it because my daddy realized I have tears in my eyes. And I have to pretend that I'm wiping the tears of my eye. I have to pretend that I'm a man. I want to read the rest of the story. And daddy put his arm around my shoulder, and he loved on me. He hugged me. That's something Muslim will never experience, old or young, because you're ruining a garbage counterfeit story to the Bible. So what happened here? The work of the Holy Spirit, the conscience of his brothers, they went back to literally what happened 13 years ago. He was 17 when they did what they did to him, and now he's 30 years old. You have no clue as a scholar of Islam that the age of Joseph, not the story. You know nothing about the story, for heaven's sake. 13 years ago. And their brother was begging them. He was so stressed. And he's begging, "Please have mercy on me. Don't do that to me." Remember when they dropped the rope for him to pull him from the well? After they left him down there while they enjoying eating food, and they saw these Midianites, the Ishmaelites who are going to be traveling to Egypt, and they saw their brother, and he saw what happened, and he saw they're going to take him out of the well and they're going to go back to home. No. Now he's taken with his hand tied by a rope, as I shared with you before in my imagination, and they drag him to Egypt. And he's begging them, "Please, my brothers, don't do that to me. I'm your brother. Please don't sell me. I am not." And now, 13 years later, their conscience eating them. Now is his blood is going to be asked of us. God is punishing us because we did not listen to his cry, and he was begging us to show mercy to him and not sold him, and we sold him. And Reuben reminded him what happened. Something we're talking about right now was never mentioned in the garbage Quran, the perfect word of Allah, the best of the stories. What Reuben said, I told you, don't kill him. I told you, don't do harm to the boy. Because Reuben wanted him to be in the well, that he may come later, take him and give him to his daddy. When he came back later, the boy was gone because they already sold him to the Ishmaelites who already took him down to Egypt. I told you, don't do that. Now his blood is being asked from you. They are under stress. Joseph heard the whole thing. He knows Hebrew. That's his language. When you speak a language for 17 years, 13 years later, you don't forget it. How he was talking to them? Interpreters. Tell them blah, 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 blah. Oh, they're telling you they're not really, they're not spies. They're good people. Tell them, how do I know you're blah, 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 blah. Oh, there are 10 boys. You know what I'm saying? There's an interpreter between Joseph and his brothers. These are Egyptian interpreters. They will never think for a second that he is their brother. And when they did that, there is repentance now. There is guilt. The conscience eating them. Joseph could not stand in front of them. He turned away. He cried. A 30 years old man is crying because his guts is killing him inside him. Then he came back and he spoke to them. Okay, he took Simeon, and he tied his hand in front of them, in front of their eyes. And you read the rest of the story. Something Allah forgot to mention. Muhammad forgot to write down. And Muslims believe that what they have is the best. What a dumb Muslims who believe in that book. I guarantee you, Hatun, Muslims believe in the Quran, believe in the story of Joseph because they never read it. And if they read it, because they never read the story of the Bible. There's no chance under the blue sky. A decent man or a decent woman who believe in the Quran, who believe in Islam, read Quran chapter 12 and read the Genesis account, they continue to be a Muslim one more day. Even if everything else wrong in the Bible, they will leave Islam and become atheists. But there will not a chance if they have a little bit logic, something you told me they don't have, or a little bit common sense, after reading Quran chapter 12, to stay a Muslim one more day. You're going to read the Bible, after you read the Quran, and you're going to say goodbye to Allah and to Muhammad and the Quran, and you become an atheist. But there's no way under the blue sky, if you have some small amount of logic or common sense, you stay to be a Muslim for another day. Verse 25.
I'm going to read it from verse 24, brother.
Sure, sister.
He turned away from them and began to weep. But they came back and spoke to him again. He had Simeon taken from them and bound before their eyes. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain and put each man's silver back in his sack and give them provisions for their journey. After this was done for them, they loaded their grain on their donkeys and left.
Notice here. We'll stop at 26 if you don't mind. Notice here that it was silver, not their goods. Muhammad did not know. Allah does not know. Their goods. Bida'atihim. You know what bida'a means? Bida'a means could be clothes. Bida'a means could be any goods, but not money, not silver. Allah does not know what did the Joseph brothers give for their corn or their wheat, whatever corn in my Arabic Bible. Allah does not know. They gave silver, not bida'a. They're not exchanging tomato for potato. No, silver. But somehow Allah does not know it. And he put the silver in their bags. And guess when they opened the bags? In their way to their family. After they left Egypt. before they met with their daddy. According to the Quran, they actually went talk to their daddy. We're not going to give any major, and if we don't take our brother with us, he will not give us. So the story is there, but it's wrong. And then after they left, the found verse, I can give you the verse again. Here we go. The found verse, which is verse 65. They did not have any food. I'm sorry, let's go back again up. And verse 63, they did not give any major. 65, that's when they opened their stacks and they found the silver in it. Oh, not the silver. They're goods. They're merchandise. We don't even know what it is. Some stuff they took with them. In the Bible, look at the order. They actually opened their sacks and they found the silver in it. Go ahead, read 27, 28.
Okay, let me just change the screen, brother.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's fine. At the place where they stopped for the night, one of them opened his sack to get feed for his donkey, and he saw his silver in the mouth of his sack. My silver has been returned, he said to his brothers. Here it is in my sack. Their hearts sank and they turned to each other, trembling, and said, "What is this that God has done to us?"
So they found that they have their own silver in their sacks before they met with their daddy. In the Quran, after they met their daddy. Of course, Muhammad heard the story. 10 years later, he's writing the story in the Quran. You make a mistake if he ever even wrote the story. Maybe somebody else heard the story. And when you're missing the orders of what happened, then the story lost its truth. Here's a question, did they find the silver in their sacks or their goods, their merchandise, بدعاتهم, in the sacks, before or after they met their daddy? In the Quran, before. In the Bible, after. In the Bible, before. Which one is right? Of course the Quran is right because it is a perfect word of Allah. Says who? Says Allah in the Quran. You have to be stupid to believe in that. Because the whole story is wrong in the Quran. I mean, not this point. The whole story is wrong. Next verse.
When they came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them. They said, "The man who is the Lord over the land spoke harshly to us and treated us as though we were spying on the land. But we said to him, 'We are honest men, we are not spies. We were 12 brothers, son of one father. One is no more, and the youngest is now with our father in Canaan.'"
Of course,
Then
the same story again here. There's no reason to read the story again because that's when Jacob is really couldn't believe it. Why you told the man you have a brother? Why you told the man? Because the man is Joseph and the man knows who they are. The man is asking these questions in the Bible because he want to make sure that his brother is still alive. What they did to him, they did not do to Benjamin, his brother. And the man want to know if their father is alive or not. The reason Joseph made this, because not he's just being a pain in the whatever. No, Joseph is trying to check out if his father is still alive, is his brother still alive. That's why he's giving them the hard time. That's all. He used deception, asking questions. You're spies. No, we're not. We're 12 brothers. Oh, is your dad still alive? Yeah. Is your brother still alive? Is this little one? I want to see him. Prove to me you're not spies. You see what's happening here? Of course, Muhammad did not know anything. Jacob said, read verse 36, sister.
Their father Jacob said to them, "You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more. And now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me." Then Reuben said to his father, "You may put both of my sons to death if I do not bring him back to you. Entrust him into my care, and I will bring him back." But Jacob said, "My son will not go down there with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left. If harm comes to him on the journey you are taking, You will bring my gray hair down to the grave in sorrow.
A struggle. Real biblical story. That's what will happen if a father is about to let his beloved young man Benjamin, the one of the two whom he loves so much, because they are the children of the beloved wife, the dead wife, the missing wife, the old age, and one is gone, his wife is gone, Rachel is gone, Joseph is gone, he believed he was killed, he was died, he's dead, and now we have the last one. This is how you read the story. No, you need to bring me a written oath by Allah, signed by two angels and two other guys, and bring the oath to me. Otherwise, I'm not gonna do it. I can't do that. I'm sorry. Business is business. It's my son. You know what? A dumb Quran for dumb Muslim scholars, for naive Muslims to believe in it. That oath made up. The true biblical account is what we're reading here. The man is struggling. They need the food. Starvation is on earth. And he will not send his son, Benjamin, because he's afraid that something will happen to him. Something bad will happen to him. Not like the story of the Quran. And what's so amazing, Hatun, we continue with the story of the Quran, Lord is willing. You found that Jacob knows that Joseph is still alive. Even though he knows he's still alive, he cried after he knows he's still alive to the point they have white eyes. He lost his sight. Even though that knucklehead, that crazy Jacob know that his son is still alive. It is so dumb. It is so stupid. It's dumb for dumbers. Islam, Quran is dumb for dumbers. And the proof is, read the best of the Quran. Quran chapter 12. Let's go to next chapter. Bible chapter 43. Let's see how this story is going to end. The struggle between Jacob and his sons about his son Benjamin. Beginning from verse 1.
Now the famine was still severe in the land, so they had eaten all the grain they had brought from Egypt. Their father said to them, "Go back and buy us a little more food." But Judah said to him, "The man warned us solemnly, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you. If you will send our brother along with us, we will go down and buy food for you. But if you do not send him, we will not go down, because the man said to us, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you.'" Israel asked.
Yeah. Now here's a question. Did they mention anything about extra camel load here? That if we take our brothers, we go to Egypt and we'll bring extra camel load of goods, corn or wheat? Did we mention anything about camel load here? Extra camel load? No. It's not in the Bible. Because that's something Muhammad is going to add to the story of the Bible in the Quran. And somehow they know it before it happened. He's going to add fabrication to the biblical account, and he mentioned earlier, and then it happened. Like they are really prophets. Extra camel load. Okay. So what happened in verse, let's move on to next verse. Verse 6.
Before we move to, okay, sorry. Israel said, "Why did you bring this trouble only by telling the man you had another brother?" They replied, "The man questioned us closely about ourselves and our family. 'Is your father still living?' he asked. 'Do you have another brother?' We simply answered these questions. How were we to know he would say, 'Bring your brother down here'?" Then Judah said to Israel, his father, "Send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I myself will guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life. As it is, we had not delayed. We could have gone and returned twice."
Because, as I said earlier, they're not carrying a trailer, 18-wheeler, to get corn from there. They're carrying their donkeys, corn or wheat or whatever grains they're bringing from Egypt on their donkey. Limited. It's a good for 3-4 weeks. Literally, they'll be traveling for 10 days to get food worth a whole month. That's it. They have to do this many times. Now, first time it was Reuben. He said, "Kill my 2 sons if I don't bring him back to you healthy and alive, in good shape." Now now it is Judah doing the same thing with his father. We need to survive. We're gonna die, you and I and our children, if we don't go back to Egypt. Send your son Benjamin with us. If you have not denied, we would make 2 trips already. They were starving. No grain of any shape or food, nothing whatsoever. So what did Jacob say to them in verse 11? It's very important. Something is missing in the Quran. Not only they're going to take the silver to buy it, but they're going to take some merchandise. I think that's where Muhammad come up with a problem. Merchandise. They took some merchandise, and I love it how in the Quran, when they go on the 3rd trip, which did not happen according to the Bible, they're going to take some merchandise, and the Muslim scholar will tell you that their merchandise on the 3rd trip was even worthless because they're so poor, they're so broken. No, you idiots. I'm talking about Muslim scholars. No, you stupid. Jacob and his sons were not poor. They got the silver, they got the gold, they got other merchandise as a gift. Something they have a lot of, but you cannot eat and live on. We're going to see now what is that gift which Jacob commanded his sons to take with them when they went on their 2nd trip to Egypt. When they take Benjamin with them. That's a question for our dear Muslim scholars. Answer. What is the gift? A Muslim scholar Ibn Kathir, they say robes, clothes, the skin, dry stuff, and garbage. And because they're broke, they're very poor, Sister Hatun. You have nothing to give it to Joseph. So they take some cheap stuff. No, they were not poor. They were just out of grain. Jacob at this time was the richest man in the land of Israel. Don't forget, he inherited everything from his daddy Isaac, who inherited everything from their grandpa Abraham. And Abraham was not a poor guy. He had hundreds of slaves. As a matter of fact, he took 318, one of them, strong guys, to do the battle against the 5 kings who attacked Sodom and Gomorrah. 318, that's a lot of slaves. These are the young men who can fight. So I guarantee you, in Joseph's time, we're talking about, I don't know, maybe we have 1,000 people live there. It's starvation. They need to provide for their family to live. They're not broken financially. They're broken, no wheat, no corn. You can be the richest country in the world, but you can't eat your gold. You can't eat your silver. You have to have corn. You have to have wheat, the substance of life. That is what Jacob was missing. Not like what Ibn Kathir said, according to his great interpretation to the nonsensical of the Quran. So anyway, so now let's see, what is the gift they're going to take with them when they go back to get their corn or grain in their 2nd trip, beginning from verse 12.
I'm just gonna read verse 8 and 9 and 10 again to bring something to attention to the Christians, and then I'll be read from verse 11, brother.
Sure.
If you beloved ones, if you remember where Messiah comes from, who his lineages comes from, just like in here, hear the heart of Judah.
Amen.
And then notice the transformation happened to him. Hear
Amen.
this heart, and then like remember this with the story of Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
Then Judah said to Israel, his father, send the boy along with me, and we will go at once, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I myself will guarantee his safety. You can hold me personally responsible for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him here before you, I will bear the blame before you all my life.
Mm-hmm.
As it is, if we have not delayed, we could have gone and returned twice. Just like, imagine this, and then imagine what Messiah did, okay? So they're like from Genesis 3, they are waiting for this promised one. And then
Amen.
pick up the transformation or the heart change Judah goes through. That was just quick message for Christians. Verse 11. Then their father Israel said to them, if it must be, then do this. Put some of the best products of the land in your bag and take them down to the man as a gift. Little balm and little honey, some spices and myrrh, some pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double amount of silver with you, for you must return to the silvers that was put back into the months of your son. Perhaps it was a mistake. Take your brother also and go back to the man at once. And may God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, so that he will let your other brother and Benjamin come back with you. As for me, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved. So the man took the gifts and double amounts of silver, and Benjamin also. They hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph
Let's
saw
stop here,
Benjamin,
Sid. I don't want to get into more than that. I don't want to get into more than that. Because then we're gonna. I always want to start with the nonsensical of the Quran, so we can explain it with the real story of the Bible. Now they are in Egypt, and by the way, they did not enter from different doors or any doors, because there is no doors. Okay, trust me in that. I know this for a fact. If you can find me a wall around Egypt with gates on it, I'll be of the first who says a shahada. I will say it faster than Hatun say ashhadu. Before she say ashhadu, I'll be finished the whole shahada. I'll be the best, fastest Muslim believers. Show me a wall around Egypt and one door in it, okay? Or any written history of Egypt having walls around it, okay? And the gates, as Muhammad said in the Quran. So then I'll go back to Joseph. And they're not going empty hand. They're going to take honey and loaves and fusdo and all these nuts, which can last a long time. The nuts, you get them from the trees, and you can have literally ain jamal, fusdo, bundo, whatever he calls them in English. I don't know what he calls them. The nuts we just read. And
pistachio,
yeah, pistachio. They can
and
live a long
almonds.
time. Yeah, and all this good stuff. Okay, I like them myself, and I eat them all the time. So the problem is not they don't have honey. They have honey, but you need bread, you need corn, you need to feed yourself, and you need to feed your animals, and that is something does not exist. Honey, yes, there was some honey there, and they're taking some of these as a gift, and they take the silver, the first silver, and another silver with it. That means they're not broke. Double silver, okay, double silver. That is what the Bible said. Let's go to the Quran. Chapter 12.
Verse 16.
And we're at 68. We're going to go actually 69.
68 and 69.
Yes, ma'am.
And when they entered, as their father had commanded them, it was not averted from their everything against Allah. But it only served to satisfy a need in the soul of Jacob. And surely he was possessed of the knowledge we had taught him, but most people do not know. Verse 69. And when they entered unto Joseph, he took his brother to him. He said, surely I am your brother, so do not grieve for what they were doing. Surely I am your brother.
It is hilarious. Do you know how this happened, Hatun?
I don't know. I love to know.
He took him aside. He said, come here. Yeah, hey, you, Benjamin, come here. I have a secret to tell you, man. Do you know who I am? I'm your brother, Joseph. But don't tell your brothers, okay? Keep it a secret between me and you. Joseph, our mother is... No, that's not what happened. He actually, the scholars disagree. I read to you what Ibn Kathir said. I'm going to read from my head, so don't take it word for word. If you want to read the word for word, I got it in front of me in the Arabic language. We can read word for word, and we spend a good half hour to read that garbage fabrication interpretation. But somehow, scholars disagree. In one place, he said he brought all of them, the 11, into his house. And he put 2 in each bedroom. Okay? But there was one left, because 2 is 10. Okay, 2, 5 is 10. One by himself. Guess who is the one by himself? It was Benjamin. And Joseph he said, that young boy, he sleep with me. And he hold him in the bed, and all night he go smell him. You know how O'Biden liked to smell little girls' hair? O'Biden loved to smell little girls' hair. Watch it on TV. All over the internet. If you are anywhere around the world, look for O'Biden sniff hair from little girls and women. Okay, same thing Joseph did. He was smelling his brother all night long. Or here's another, and by the way, the brother was like, whoa, what is going on here? Why is smelling our brother like that? The other interpretation, he actually sent them to every houses, different houses. You go sleep at Mr. Smith's house. You go sleep at Mr. Rachel's house. You go sleep at Mr. Cook's house and Mr. Jack's house, and then one left. Just happened to be Benjamin. And he and Benjamin slept together in one bed, hugging each other all night long. And that's when he told him, I am your brother. You're Benjamin, and I'm your brother Joseph. If that's not stupidity, what is stupidity? Help me out, Hatun. Does this make logic to you what happened here? Joseph does not have a wife. Joseph does not have a wife. In the Quran, he does not have a wife. Joseph does not have any sons. In the Quran, he does not have any sons. He does not have a family. He's going to hug his brother all night long. Smell him all night long. Or by himself, and he told them without smelling him. Which one do you like? Tell me, which one of these two interpretations make more sense to you, Hatun? To help me out here. I need your help.
I don't know. It's just like you can't use logic when it comes to the word of Allah. And like
I'm
there are
on you, sister. Listen up. This is a very serious matter here. I'm about to say the Shahada, but help me out with that one point. Give me your best. Which one you like? In his house, all of them in one room, sleep in bed, okay? Or in a separate houses, and he's smelling his brother. No, smelling his brother. I mean, which one do you like? So I want to say the Shahada. Go ahead.
Okay, prepare for your Shahada. Okay, so practical things. They are traveled all the way from Canaan to Egypt.
Yeah.
They haven't had a shower yet, and
Smell.
it is smelly, and it's like Egypt, very hot, lots of sweat, smells very uncomfortable. Ideally, I think he put them in different houses, and then he had Benjamin.
You like the second interpretation? Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So he had Benjamin, so that like when Benjamin finds out, oh, he's alive. So reaction or excitement. So excitements won't because it was information has been shared in secret. So other brothers won't be other brothers won't hear this secret information when he gets excited.
Hatun, I'm the only one whom you led to Islam.
I helped over 1,000 people to get out of Islam. So one went to Islam. That's just like breaks the heart of God. So,
so you don't want me to finish the Shahada? What's wrong with you,
Usama? You will say Shahada, and then you will have to circumcise. Once you finish your Shahada, and then if you decided all this story is rubbish, we will have to chop your head off.
Interested. I'm already circumcised. I cannot be circumcised twice. Anyway, so here we go.
We don't want to chop your head off once you decided to leave Islam. It is very peaceful.
Yeah, I know. Very peaceful.
He said, surely I am your brother. So do not grieve for what we are doing, what they were doing.
Yeah. Let's read verse 70. What happened? He told his brother now. And guess what? They're all hitting the road again.
So when he had provided them with their supplies, he placed his drinking vessel on his brother's pack. Then a caller called, "O travelers, surely you are thieves," he said, and they turned back to them. "What did we miss?" they said. "We missed the king's suwa."
Suwa is a cup. It's like the one cup. You know what's amazing? When you go read the scholar's interpretation, it is the cup which he drank by, and it is the same cup which he measured for people by. So as he worked hard for a couple hours, 3 hours, measured for all the people, the corn or the wheat or the grain, whatever he gave, and then Joseph get tired. So he said, "Okay, stop, take a break. Put some water, man," and he drink. Take a break, and then it's time to work again. Use the same cup, dump whatever left water in it, and use the same cup to measure for people. Don't you love Muslim scholars? The prince of Egypt sitting in front of his big storages of corn or wheat, one cup, drink from and measure with, and he yatafa'alu bihi means it's like it brings him good luck. It's a good luck cup. It's a charm to him. Go ahead.
"We missed the king's suwa, and to him we will restore it a camel's load,
Ooh,
and I guaranteed it.
sweet Jesus. Do you remember what I told you earlier? They told their daddy, let me go back and give you the verse. Let me go back to the verse. Read verse 65.
And when they opened their bag, they find their merchandise had been returned to them. They said, "Oh, our father, we did not desire that our merchandise would be returned to us. We will bring food to our families, and we will keep our brothers, and will increase a bare measure."
Ooh,
This is an easy
extra
measure.
camel load, sister. Extra camel load. Here it is. You want to understand the extra camel load? That's what we're reading right now. It's what we're reading right now. Okay, go back to verse 71 down.
71. I read 71. I'll read
I know,
73.
but read it again. 71
Okay,
again.
sorry. They said, then they turned back to them. What did we miss? They said. They said, we missed the king's sword, and to him we will restore it a camel's load, and I guarantee it.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. If somebody steals something and he bring it back, you reward him with a camel load of corn or wheat, or you put him in prison. You see, the story is wrong. But Muhammad squeezed the verse earlier. They tell their father, we'll bring a extra camel load. And here is the extra camel load in verse 72. That men, the young men, the one who ran after them of this, you're a thief, you're a thief. What you're losing? We're missing the cup of the king. And if you give it to us back, we'll give you a camel load. Ooh, extra reward. Camel load of corn or grain or whatever, if you give us the cup back. But they have dignity now. Joseph's brothers were not just any people say, Read now verse 73.
At that time, it seems they didn't have the chopping hands for the thief's brother.
Yeah.
Verse 73,
Yeah.
They said, we swear by Allah, indeed, you know that we did not come to vandalize in the land, and we were not thieves.
They are defending their honor, Hatun. They're not easy. We swear by Allah, we never stole anything. We're not thieves. We're decent people. He already offered you a camel load, extra camel load of grain for free if you give the cup back. No. We're not thieves. Excuse me, sir. Back off, sir. We're not thieves. We're decent people. Go ahead. Verse 74.
They said, so what is the penalty if you were liars? They said,
now you don't know who said here, because they said. Now these are the Egyptians speaking here. The young men of Joseph. The teenagers who are running the country with Joseph. Okay. So what if you are lying? What is the reward if you are lying? Now read go ahead 75.
They said, his penalty for one in whose pack you will find it. So he is the penalty. Likewise, we rewarded the unjust.
If you find that cup of your king in any of our sacks, the person who owned the sack will be the penalty. You're going to take him as slaves. Ooh, man, that's a harsh thing. They're actually judging against themselves. They didn't even know. The Egyptian men would love to give them a load of camel of grain as a gift. Give us a cup back. No, we're decent people. We don't steal. So what is the penalty? The penalty is, okay, whoever stole that cup will be yours. You're going to have him. Okay, so let's next verse, 76.
So he began with their backs before his brother's back, and then he drew it out from his brother's back. Likewise, we schemed for Joseph that he was not to take his brother into the judgment of the kings, except if Allah wills. We raise degrees of whom he will, and above everyone with knowledge.
It was not easy for Joseph to take his brother.
With knowledge, more knowledge.
He already told him, you're my brother. Remember when they lay in bed together, sniffing all night long? Exactly. Okay, now he knows. I'm telling you, Muhammad ruined the story. You know what is going to happen this time? This brother said, by the way, guys, this is Joseph, our brother. He told me last night we were in bed together. He was sniffing me all over me. all night long. He told me I'm his brother, so don't work here. You go now. By the law of Egypt, which given to the prince of Egypt, Joseph, the law said, if I stole his cup, I'm his, and you gone. Go back, bye-bye. Say goodbye to Papa Jacob. Tell him Joseph and Benjamin are together happy in Egypt. No, 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 no. It's like that Benjamin lost his mind. He couldn't remember what happened the night before. He was quiet. The entire time is quiet. But Muhammad in the Quran, Allah in the Quran, I want to make sure that these Egyptian people follow the law. The law said you cannot take somebody as a slave unless you prove that he is a thief. I understand, Hatun. Verse 76 makes the mud of the Quran more muddier. You add more dirt and mud and water to the Quran, you mix it together. What is that? Now, verse 77 will add sweetness to the story. Go ahead, 77.
They said, if he has stolen, so indeed his brother has stolen before. So Joseph kept it secret in his soul and did not disclose it to them. He said, you are in an evil position, and Allah knows what you describe.
Whose brother is stolen? If he stole, his brother stole before. Somebody drinking too much wine or alcohol and he cannot remember. These brothers of Joseph were all drunk. If he stole, his brother stole before. What in the world? What in the world Allah is saying here? Oh, let me tell you. I love Muslim scholars. So he would tell you that when Joseph was a little boy, he stole one of the gods of his grandpa, his mama's daddy. So who is his mama? Rachel. Who's her daddy? Is Laban. So Joseph stole one of the idols of Laban. And not only he stole it, he broke it and he destroyed many pieces. Wow. So if he stole, that Benjamin stole your cup, well, his brother Joseph stole before. And Joseph kept it as a secret. He does not want to tell who he is. He's hiding his identity. Nobody have a clue. It is Joseph. Wait a minute. I thought he told Benjamin the night before when he in bed all night long. He kept it a secret. And Allah in his wisdom control his emotion. Now you don't want to give up who you are, Joseph. Keep it a secret. Now you keep it in your mind. They make fun of him. The scholars of Islam said all the days of his life because he stole the god of his grandpa Laban. But Allah knows what they are describing. So what this verse have to do with anything? I mean, what do you come up with? Who squeezed 77 between 76 and 78? Is there any reason for them to Muhammad to make up the story about Joseph stealing God of his uncle, grandpa Laban, and put it there? I mean, you need 78. Forget about the stupidity of 77. 77 will not help Muhammad in any shape or form. You need 78. We worry about the daddy, not what Joseph did years ago when he didn't do it anyway. It's a made up. You see what the story here at Hatun? Muhammad leave important information in the story and he add his own fabrication to the story, which is dumb. Dumb for dumbers. 78.
They said, oh, you the dear, surely he has very aged father. So take one of us instead of him. Surely we see that you are the doers of good. He said.
Who said that? Who said that? What's his name? They said, all of them said that? Each and every one of them? One by one? But
Allah knows best.
Yeah. Allah knows best, yeah. 5-1-1. That's a new sentence I've been using now. You know, here in America, we have the fifths. When you say take the 5, you know what I mean? You do not have to answer any question. 5, you don't have to answer any question in any court of law in America. And then 1-on-1, 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 1-on-1 is like the early days. Actually, it's Quran chapter 5 and verse 101. Do not ask. So if anybody asks any Muslim any question, he doesn't want to answer. He say, oh, I say 5-1-1. That's the best answer for any question about the word of Allah in the Quran. Don't ask. Don't ask, don't tell, as Clinton says. Anyway, so now 79. Let's see what Joseph said. Very, very decent man. Go ahead.
He said, Allah's refuge, that we should take anyone but him with whom our property was found. For then we should act unjustly.
I'm a just guy. I'm not going to take any of you guys. I'm going to take the one who stole me. After all, they made the judgment against themselves in the previous verse. It's verse 76, isn't he? If you find anyone have this thing, he will be your slave. 75. And they found it in Benjamin. So Benjamin is supposed to be slave. Is a justice have to be served. And Joseph is a decent guy. He will not take anybody but the one who stole the cup.
So when they had lost hope of him, they went and spoke privately. The oldest of them said,
excuse me, Mr. Joseph, can we have a 5-minute recess? We're going to talk to ourselves in a minute here. Excuse me, sir. Guys, come on here. We need to have a meeting here. All right, we have a situation right now with the circumstances. They're talking privately. Where? In Joseph's backyard, or maybe in some court of law in Egypt, or maybe in Joseph's house. Excuse us, Mr. Joseph, step aside here. We're going to have our own personal meeting, okay? I love the details of Muhammad in the Quran. The details, I wish I had hair in my head so I can pull my hair out because of the details of the Quran. The best of the stories. So we're going to have a secret meeting. We don't want Joseph to attend or any of them Egyptian among each other. Okay. And then who spoke there? Go ahead. Tell me. I'm sorry. I hate to stop you and ask you to read. It's just I get excited. I'm about to say the shahad here, so I'm getting excited. So go ahead and read verse 81 more time.
So when they had lost hope of him, they went and spoke privately. The oldest of them said,
The oldest? Oh, I'm sorry. I have to stop you again, Hatun. I can't help it. The oldest. Does he have a name?
The oldest.
Oh, the oldest. I love it when the Quran says one of them tells the others. Oh, I know for sure. One spoke, the other heard. Oh, the one on the right side. Which side? Oh, the right side of the mountain. Or the one in the middle. Wow. See the details of Allah? You cannot compete with the details of the words of Allah in the Quran. You do not actually need an interpreter. It is a clear book. Easy to understand. The biggest one. Muhammad never mentioned a name. When he put names, he put wrong names all over the Quran. Don't you love that? Don't you love that? Haman in Egypt. How? I don't know. Yeah. Haman was Egyptian. And so is Qarun.
The oldest of them said, did you not know that your father indeed has taken a firm oath from you before Allah and have formerly you failed in your duty with regard to Joseph? So I will not depart the land until my father gives me permission, or may Allah judge for me. And he is the best of the judges.
Man, the oldest one is the smartest one. I'm staying here in Egypt. You go back to your daddy. I said, there's an oath. There's an oath. We remember the covenant we wrote was Allah. Allah signed up with 2 angels, one on the right, one on the left. And we gave it to our father. I cannot go back. I'm sorry. You see, I'm the oldest. I'm the smartest. I'm not going back. Okay, so what's he going to do? Go to the next verse, please.
Return to your father, so say, O our father, surely your son has stolen. We bear witness only of what we knew, and we were not the keeper of the unseen.
Go ahead, 82.
And ask the village we were in, and the caravan with which we have arrived, and surely we are truthful, he said. Yet you have arranged all this affair.
Yeah, I really don't want to eat 83 yet, because 83 is another story for the next broadcast. But here we go. Dad, your daddy stole. And I know you don't believe me, but ask the people in the village. Send another 3-4 people to go to the village and ask. And by the way, it's a caravan. The people traveled with us. They saw the whole thing. What is that? It's called extra stupid information from Allah and Jibreel to Muhammad and to the global Muslims who believe in the Quran. We're not making this up. You know, the people in the village saw it, and the caravan, the people travel with us. I mean, we got enough witness that we're not lying. We're telling the truth. The problem is that portion of the story never took place. This is the extra trip in the Quran which never took place. It never happened. Let me say it again. It never happened. Allah forgot, and he added a little bit more verses in the Quran to make the story of Joseph a little bit bigger, and it's a dumb information because they never went back to their daddy to tell him that your son's stolen. They never went back to their daddy to tell them that that he's going to stay behind. If you don't give us a permission, I'm not coming back. The oldest Oh man, the details, Sister Hatun, blow your mind. If you don't say the Shahada by now, you should say it right now. I made up information.
And Usama, it is a bit difficult to say Shahada with the blood mind. I'm just so amazed. I can't even like speak with the details and more details and more details and more details, just like blow my mind. I don't think I'm in the state of taking Shahada. I just need to kind of.
I don't even want to look at you. I'm looking at my Bible right now. So I look at your face. It makes me laugh. I can't just. I'm imagining you while I'm looking at the Bible. I'm not looking at you. God's my witness. Right now, I have the Bible in front of me. But that's okay. Go ahead. What else you want to say, sister? You bring joy to my heart when I hear you. Just hearing your voice. Go ahead.
So as you pointed out, this so much well detailed and full, truthful, truthful stories.
Yeah.
Just like makes me think like, really? Like just.
Let's spend a couple. Can we have 10 more minutes in the Bible? I mean, I know my 2 hours is gone, but can we go to the Bible for a couple more verses or no?
It's up to you. We can go, brother. We need to make sure like we get the truthful of this story. I know like Allah is like best of the judges. Yeah. Allah judges for them, for the oldest, and that all this is afraid, can't go, all that, and then suddenly they kind of shares this secret which they kept 13 years ago. It's just so beautiful. But
I'm telling you, sister, I wish Muslims can watch this and take my challenge. I'm just simply, I'm going to take it easy. Well, you know what I'm going to be talking about when I talk with Muslims, if somebody will debate me? Nothing but what we talked about in these broadcasts. So go watch all of them, 3 or 4 before, plus this one, plus maybe another 1 or 2. When we finish all of it, take your time, watch them 10 times, maybe 20, and come up with good answers, and let's have a debate. Back to the Bible, Genesis 43.
Okay, right.
Let's start from 15. 43:15. We read 15, but read it again.
43 verse 15.
Yes, ma'am. 1:5.
So the man took the gifts and double the amount of silver, and Benjamin also. They hurried down to Egypt and presented themselves to Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, "Take this man to my house, slaughter an animal and prepare a meal. They are to eat with me at noon."
Wait a minute. Did we read this anywhere in the Quran?
No, they forgot this small detail.
Yeah, that's not important. It's just, yeah.
They thought, Usama, they thought it was more important to sleep with a sweaty person and then smell and sniff him, instead of they forgot to like tell us these details.
I can only imagine Joseph all night long. Go ahead.
So the man did as Joseph told him and took the man to Joseph's house. Now the men were frightened when they had taken to his house. They thought, "We were brought here because of the silver that was put back into our sacks in the first time. He wants to attack us and overpower us and seize us as slaves and take our donkeys." So they went to Joseph's steward and spoke to him at the entrance to the house. We beg your pardon, O our Lord," they said. We come down here the first time to buy food, but at the place where we stopped for the night, we opened our sacks, and each of us found his silver, the exact weight, in the mouth of his sacks. So we have brought it back with us. We have also brought additional silver with us to buy food. We don't know who put our silvers back in our sacks. "It is all right," he said. "Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your silver." Then he brought Simeon out to them. The steward took the man into Joseph's house, gave them water to wash their feet, and provided fodder for their donkeys. They prepared their gifts for Joseph's arrival at noon, because they had heard that they were to eat there. When Joseph came home, they presented him the gifts they had brought into the house, and they bowed down before him to the ground. He
Man,
asked them,
whoa. No, notice here, they bowed down for the second time. Muhammad never mentioned that in the Quran. The dream was never fulfilled. Joseph's dream and its interpretation was never fulfilled in the Quran. It was a mistake. Go ahead.
he asked them how they were, and he said, "How is your aged father you told me about? Is he still living?" They replied, your servant, our father, is still alive and well." And they bowed down, prostrating themselves before him. As he looked about and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." Deeply moved at sight of his brothers, Joseph hurried out, looked at the place to weep. He went into his private room and wept there. After he had washed his face, he came out and controlled himself and then said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself, the brothers by themselves, and Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews, for this detestable to Egyptians. The men had been seated before him in order of their ages, from the firstborn to the youngest, and they looked each other in astonishment. When portions were served to them from Joseph's table, Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as everyone else's. So they feasted and drank freely with him.
This is what I call the missing story of Joseph of the Quran. I'm not kidding you. Nothing in the Quran is written to make sense. The only way you can understand the garbage of Allah's word in the Quran is to read the Bible, the corrupt book, by the way, to the Muslims. And one part, and I confess to you again, 40 some years later, one part when I heard the story with my daddy, I cried. Joseph's love for his brother Benjamin. You have to understand, this is the most important man of Egypt after Pharaoh. A young man, 30 years old. As a matter of fact, here is 32. It was just 2 years later, after he stood up before Pharaoh. 32 years old man, and he sees his brothers, and he saw Benjamin. And his heart was aching. It was like, I want to cry, but he didn't want to cry in front of them. So he left the room, go outside, and he cried. And he did not even cry. The Bible said he wept. Baka. This is the missing Joseph of the Quran. You think, you, my dear Muslim, that you believe in Joseph, the perfect word of Allah, and the story of Joseph in the Quran. You got nothing but garbage. You missed the story of Joseph in the Quran. And he went and he cried. He went to his bedroom and he cried. Wash his face, hold himself together, and he went to eat with them. Look at the culture of the Quran, the culture of the Bible, which is missing in the Quran. You see, first of all, it's amazing that he can put his brothers old, young, in the right order. You may think he did it by the size. No, sometimes younger brother is bigger than older brother. Sometimes the guy in the middle is fat or too skinny. He puts them in the right order around the table by themselves. Why? Because he will not eat with them. Not only he didn't go to bed with Benjamin all night long, that stupid garbage lies of the interpreter or the fabricator. How can you interpret a person's not there? How do you know he was with him in bed all night together? That's a garbage. No, he ate by himself because he's a prince. He's an important man in the government of Egypt. And the Egyptian will not eat with the Hebrews because they believe the Hebrews are unclean. My Egyptian people are professional, clean people, neat people. They don't eat with these Hebrews. We're going to learn about that a little bit later. This cow shepherd or sheep shepherd, they smell, they stink, they're not clean. Egyptians are clean, they eat by themselves. So now, 3 groups of people. 3 different tables. One for Joseph brothers, all the young, and amazingly, Benjamin have 5 times more food than any of them. Okay? Now, here is Joseph eaten by himself, and here is the Egyptian eaten by themselves. Where can we find that in the Quran? These another 3, 4 questions. What happened in Joseph's house? How did he eat? How much how much food Benjamin got compared to his brothers? Were they sitting by the size, the shape, the length, or the age? What order did Joseph use to set them people, his brothers? Did they sit with Joseph and all the slaves on one big table and the happy family? And in the middle of the night, he got Benjamin in his bed and he smelled all night long. What happened? Where is the story? Where is that count? You got nothing in your book. You got nothing in your book. And that's only to stop for today. Because guess what? I still have 2, 4, 6, 7 chapters in the Bible and the rest of the 40 verses of the Quran. We cannot finish it tonight. That's why we're going to meet again to continue with Joseph in the Quran compared to Joseph in the Bible. The empty pages of the Quran compared to the true biblical account. Thank you, Jesus.
Let me just remind everyone kind of what Brother Usama pointed out. Remember, Surah 12 of the Quran starts, this is well detailed, and then best of the stories. But we read so far until verse 82, and nothing made sense to us. Just give us lots of questions, and then certain very inappropriate informations were imported into the text. We had to go to the Bible to make sense of it. Not only make sense of the story, but also see what, like the way, like put in the historical context. How would someone even like share table with people? Like think 1800 BC. People from different land and coming and sleeping in the same bed in the governor. Not sure how that was practically possible. And then governor is sniffing those people. Like all that like cultural context in Quran doesn't make sense. So we had to go to the Bible to make sense of the political side of things, cultural side of the things, but also look at from the human perspective. How when the family is broken, how the reconciliation can take place. Where are the human emotions are involved? Those very basic things actually will make story. So Quran just like kind of got rid of all that thing and then destroyed, as Brother Usama said, like they just got rid of the story of Joseph by identifying Islamic story as the best story.
And by the way, you know what was Hatum? It's not just Joseph's story. If you and I will continue to take them one story at a time, the entire Quran follows the same pattern. A biblical story, Muhammad destroyed in the Quran. Other ones is hard to do. Why? Because you have to go throughout the Quran, right and left. The reason I love story of Joseph in the Quran because it's one chapter. Joseph is only mentioned in one more verse somewhere outside of Quran chapter 12. But I hope and I pray after we finish Joseph, we can pick up other names. We can talk about Noah, we can talk about Abraham, we can talk about, and by the way, Ibn Kathir in his book, The Beginning and the End, the Story of the Prophets, the book which my dog chew on here, in that book here, you can laugh. I know you like my dog. I hate him since what he did to me, but that's okay. I still love him. I still feed him. I know. But Ibn Kathir is telling us the story of Jacob. He's actually given us the story of Jacob. When you find nothing about Jacob in the Bible, and his help in the Quran, and he's helping his audience to understand the story of Jacob by telling us the story of Joseph. Doesn't make any sense. It's like you want to know my father through me. I'm sorry. I did not live in Egypt, but 23 years. If you want to know the story of my father through me, you know nothing about my father. So Jacob is missing in the Quran. Like Jacob's brother, Esau is missing in the Quran. And like many other, there's many stories in the Quran. You only hear the name. Ishmael is missing in the Quran. But here is the best of the story of the Quran. And what we see in Joseph, it's exactly in every other story, but it's even worse. And I confess, Joseph is the best of the stories of the Quran. And it is literally, I promise you, if you have an 8, 9 years old child and make them read the story of Joseph in the Bible, and then wait 5 years or so, don't make them read it again, only one time, okay? And wait 5 years when they grow up to be maybe 15, and ask your children to rewrite the story of Joseph from their memory. I promise you, they will do much greater jobs than Allah and Jibreel and Muhammad. Did you hear what I said, Hatun?
Yeah.
I know Hatun is busy. If you have a child, 8, 9 years old, right now, 8, 9 years old child, and make him read the story of Joseph in the Bible one time, and then hide the Bible from that child of yours for 5 years or so. Wait until your kid turn 15 or 16. 5 years later, ask your little boy, 15 years old, to rewrite the story of Joseph from his memory. He or she, your children, will write it much better than Allah and Jibreel and Muhammad. I'm willing to wait 5 years to prove my point to you, which means Allah plus Jibreel plus Muhammad equal dumb.
On that note, just pick up Brother Usama's challenge as well. So just let me summarize before I ask Brother Usama to share a couple of things with us. Whatever you remember from this stream, please keep in your mind that best story of the Quran is being destroyed, and it is not best story at all. And brothers and sisters, beloved ones, when we look at the biblical perspective from tonight, please bring your attention to chapter 43 from verse 8 to 10, the heart of Judah, because that shows us power and beauty of our glorious God and how he's changing the hearts and minds of his people and working with those people who are failure, the people no one else looks at them. Our amazing God looks at them, cares for them, touches their hearts and then minds and changes them. Please give your attention to heart of Joseph, heart of Judah in chapter 43. And Brother Usama, so you've been helping us to kind of see how Quran kind of corrupts the best story. And I'm afraid to say you are going to come and again crush our hearts and showing how it's just getting more mess. Before you do that in a couple of weeks, can you be kind enough and then tell us what are you up to in next couple of days or coming weeks that people in the chat can pray for you? And what are the best ways to follow the work you are doing?
Yeah, well, believe it or not, tomorrow I have, obviously, tomorrow Saturday is a very busy day. I always love people, if you're going to pray for me, remember me on Saturdays. Start early in the morning when we do our broadcast in Indonesia. And some weeks, it's 1 week and 1 week not. So this week, tomorrow, I'm not, thank God, but the following week I have. So Saturday, it starts at 9 o'clock where I do 2 hours Indonesian, sometimes 3 hours, sometimes even more. I don't even know. I didn't look at the clock because everything I say in English have to be translated to the Indonesian. So it's double time anyway. So after that, I do an Arabic program for an hour 15 minutes. I answer questions for my Christian brothers from all over the world. And then I do an English program at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock Central. That's 2 hour verse by verse in the Quran. We're right now actually in Quran chapter 23, where we take the Quran verse by verse. We start from, I'm just a guest there. They're using my translation of the Quran, and I'm just a guest there. So I kind of go through my Quran wisdom. And then I have my late program, which is at 9 o'clock, 9 to 11. So I start on 9 o'clock in the morning and I finish 11 o'clock at night, sometime 11:30, depends. So it's like a good 14 hours, 15 hours sitting on that chair in front of this camera in this city. So pray for me for Saturday. But believe it or not, Sunday, I'm not speaking in any church, but Sunday, I'll be heading towards Tennessee. There is a minister here who we're helping to build a house and do some remodeling for him, who have some sickness. So pray for that preacher. He has some cancer. Pray for his family, wife and children. So myself and a bunch of guys coming from the state of Louisiana, that's in the south. I'm in Missouri, and we're going to go to Tennessee for 5 days or so. So we're going to come back on Thursday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4.5 days worth of work. So I'm going to be doing physical work. Pray for him. Also, pray for my family and friends and the people of Florida with a bad hurricane, which did a lots of damage there in Florida. So pray for the people there. And Lord's willing, when I come back, I'll be here for a couple of days, and then I'm heading to Mississippi, Louisiana, where I'll be doing some ministry traveling, as we always do, speaking in different churches. And we'll go from there. We'll just take it 1 week or something. So pray for my traveling, for the ministry next week, and for tomorrow broadcast all day long.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us, brother. We will remember you in our prayers, and of course, pray for Usama, for him to make sure his dog gets enough exercise, so that dog doesn't destroy his office.
Let me show you a secret here.
The way you treat Sauda is not acceptable at all.
Do you see this? I lock my door every day. I never lock the doors, but from now on, that dog is not coming again to my office, soda or not. I don't care.
Usama is Black Labrador, just needs some exercise and love, and seems Usama fails to do that. So let's pray that Lord changes heart of Usama to look after the creatures God gave under his care.
You blame Usama for it. Why not pray for the Lord to send Hatum back to America so she can take that dog for a walk, as she likes to do it anyway?
You got to just. It is amazing.
Here is the truth. When you came and visited me last time, you spoiled my dog for taking for walks. I don't have time to take him for a walk, and I'm not going to do it. So you're welcome to come anytime. You can have the dog with a brand new leash and help yourself, sister.
It is amazing that God gives people or even other creatures in our care. As we look after them, as we take them for walk, we remember the creator of universe, who even changed the heart of Judah, also take care of us and loves us. And the love of dogs are, of course, unconditional. You just need to give him attention, Brother Usama, if you want to keep your office safe.
You're so mean. You're so mean from day one I met with you. You're so mean like that.
I'm not mean.
It's my fault. Okay, it's my fault. The Quran is wrong. It's my fault. The dog eating in my office is my fault. What else?
Well, we need to take care of the things under our cares, because, as I said, our glorious God take care of us. And most of times we act like dogs, and still God loves us and take care of us.
But Hatun, I never take my cats for a walk, and they never chew on anything. They never damage anything.
Don't get cats. I told you, cats are haram. Muhammad loved cats.
No, dogs is haram.
No.
You got Muhammad. You got it wrong.
So we are against cats because Muhammad loved the cats. We love dogs, not only because they are wonderful and so amazing, but also because Allah doesn't like dogs. So we need to stand up for the animals' right. And you got Black Labrador, so
you don't know too much about cats and Islam, do you?
Well, Muhammad loved it, so therefore, we don't like it. I don't like it.
The cats eat the mice, and that's why Allah favored the cats over the dogs.
I don't care, because Allah and Muhammad loves them, so I have to stand up for the weak. We can't turn blind eye to unjust.
Yeah. Muslim gonna blow Disney because they love mice, and Allah and Muhammad hate mice. It's backwards. Everything is backwards. Mickey Mouse,
Anyway, beloved ones, please remember Brother Usama in your prayers for tomorrow and in coming days. And Usama, thank you very much for stepping in and helping us to once again see how Quran fails to stand up for its own criteria of Surah of Joseph. By God's grace, we will see you on another live stream, or at Speaker's Corner, or at the bosom of the Father. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And Brother Usama, thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you, sister. God bless you.